Hey guys, October 11th, 2022. I'm still 210 pounds. I just got out of the shower, put on my clothes, and weighed myself. I have not had breakfast yet. It's probably a good thing that I have not eaten breakfast when I record a lot of these, because when I'm hungry, I tend to do as much as I possibly can to eat food as fast as possible. So that would be labeled as hangry, as Mom can attest. I get that way often when I don't get food quickly, but it's one of the things I've learned over the years is that I can sit with the pain of being hungry and be okay with it. And even though today's video is about relationships, I think sitting with pain and having deep relationships are connected in some ways. So when I was growing up, relationships to me were either people who could do things for me or people that I wanted to be like. Those were basically the two groups of people that I recognized as having relationships. Right now, I have really good relationships with most of the people in my life because I've worked hard at putting boundaries in place that essentially exclude all the negative influences in my life. There are one or two that still exist that I deal with, and I'm as polite as I possibly can be, but I don't like them, and I make no bones about it. I'm usually very blunt and straightforward, and I'm not saying that that's how you need to be, but that is how I am. And I know that about myself, and I embrace it. And so if this is me trying to say relationships are extremely important in life. I did not used to think that. I used to think relationships were meant to be exploited and manipulated and were to benefit me only. But over the years, and because of addiction recovery and the addiction recovery program, I realized how wrong I was when it came to my priorities in developing relationships and what it actually means to have a relationship with someone. So my deepest relationship is with Mom, and I would say my other two deepest relationships are with you two, Noah and Katrina. I don't know what your perspective or your perception of me is, really, other than you usually do what I say. You're usually both very obedient kids. You're very polite, and you say thank you a lot. And you seem to enjoy being around me. And so that's my assumption, is that you guys really do enjoy having a relationship with me. But I feel very strongly that it is my sworn duty, the highest goal and lofty ambition of my life, is to have great relationships with you and with your mom in any way I possibly can, which means I need to apologize regularly because I make mistakes regularly. And I know my relationships with all the people in my life are much better when I apologize, when I make mistakes. And people in my life make mistakes as well. And that's when I start to set up boundaries. And an example of a boundary that I have is with one of my siblings, who all of my siblings, all 7 of us, have struggled with addictions in one form or another. And I know that, and it sort of runs in the family. And knowing that allows me to put up certain boundaries when I see one of my siblings succumbing to their addictions. And my boundary is that sibling does not get to be around me or my family unless they're sober. That's just a boundary I've put in place. And that translates to other people that I have relationships with. If you are sober, you are welcome to be in my life. But if you're not, then you don't. And I've stuck by that boundary pretty well. And I can't think of another specific boundary unless I think about it in terms of people that I work with. I really like to have a deep relationship with everyone that I work with. I share my addiction with everyone that I can, which allows them to then be vulnerable with me. That's probably the biggest thing I've learned with addiction recovery is that when I share deep, vulnerable things about myself with almost everyone, they tend to share the same things back with me, and that opens up the door to have a very deep, long, trusting relationship with whoever it is. It doesn't always work that way. Some people are just closed off by nature, and that's fine. But I tend to be the first one to invite that vulnerability. And I'm confident enough now in who I am and where I'm at that I don't feel ashamed anymore of sharing those things with people. And no one has ever used it to take advantage of me. Or if they have, then they have not been successful at it. So those are my basic thoughts on relationships and being vulnerable and apologizing. And I just want you, Noah and Katrina and Mom, to know you are the three most important people in my life.